This is tiny little.
Yeah.
Look at this teensy tiny Glencairn, dude.
You'll have to nose it properly.
Yeah, it's our fanciest glass.
Yeah.
Oh, it's weird. It's a very perfumey tasting 1980s. Let's bottoms up here.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
right?
You know what it tastes like? It tastes like those old lady red and white candies that someone stuck in a bottle of booze or something and then just like strip the flavor off of it. Who are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself. I know. What do you do here?
I'm Tremaine Atkinson. I am the co-founder and CEO and head distiller, head drinker, sometimes I get called by my staff, of CH Distillery. CH started off with CH Vodka as our flagship product, and we still make that. It's made from local organic grains. It's a true, made from scratch vodka, which we then turned into gin and other things as well. So a really kind of classic, grain to bottle distillery.
You guys have a lot of different products that I've noticed and a huge variety in products. I see all these products on a table behind you. Can you take us through these products? It seems like you have like a core line and then other things and partnerships. So what's going on this table?
Yeah, so there's a lot going on here, but it all started with this, which is CH Vodka. So this is our flagship. Unlike a lot of craft distilleries who wanted to do whiskey and then they're kind of making a cheap vodka to pay the bills. This is our flagship, made from scratch, absolutely gorgeous and really delicious. So once you make a base spirit like this, now you can go off in lots of different directions. So for example, the original flavored vodka, which would be gin. So we make a couple styles of gin, and then you see all of this. Now, this doesn't happen, just because we love to drink and get bored with something. We're very client driven. So Chicago bars are our customers. So we just listen, and if somebody says, for example, we're opening a bar that's kind of San Francisco themed, but we want a house Fernet. Okay, cool. We'll come up with, our own version of Fernet.
Is Malört like the most recognizable brand from CH?
Jeppson's Malört is part of the CH Distillery family, so I'm kind of become the Malört guy.
You're like the keeper of Malört.
Yeah. Malört ended up in our world, and it's sort of like the 85-year-old grandpa who moved into your house, and he's a little curmudgeonly, but everybody loves him.
Right.
So he's kind of taken over the household. When I started in this business, I was in financial services in the corporate world, and basically, was a big drinker, and was like, at some point, I'm tired of this, I should just make my own booze. So that's when I started CH. And one day, shortly after that, I picked up a bottle of Malört, and I was like, made in Florida? What's that about? So I ended up becoming friends with Sam Meckling, who was the marketing director, and I'd go visit him at Patty Long's where he was bartending. We'd do shots of Malört and shoot the shit. I said, Sam, could I make Malört for you guys in Chicago? And he said, well, let's talk to Pat, so Patricia Gablick, who was the owner of the company. And I made her proposal after proposal for 5 years to just bring Malört back to Chicago, let us make it, wasn't even really gonna charge anything for it. And she kept saying no. She said everything was working fine. She literally ran the company out of her apartment on Lakeshore Drive as a one-woman show. It was amazing.
Whoa. You're the guy that actually made Malört a Chicago thing?
All right, so now we'll go even further back in history.
All right.
So
let's go to the beginning.
Sometime in around 1880, let's say, roughly, a guy named Carl Jeppson moved to Chicago from Sweden. Like a lot of immigrants, brought flavors of home with them, one of which was this kind of weird digestive called Besk Brandvin, literally burnt wine. Which means, of course, it's distilled with wormwood as the primary flavor. And wormwood has been known for ages as good for an upset stomach.
Right.
And now in modern times, some people might say good to create an upset stomach.
Right.
But good medicinal qualities. So he started making it at home, and he'd give it to friends. Well, roll into Prohibition. He was getting a little bit older, but he started. Of course, everybody wanted alcohol, right? And so he was really clever. He made it and called it medicine, and he was selling it around town here in Chicago.
Right.
And and of course, when the feds would harass him, he'd say, well, try it. They would try it, and they say, yeah, no, nobody would ever drink this for fun. That was how it came about. It's got, great sort of, Chicago immigrant ethic to it. But then a guy named George Brody came along, and his family had a liquor business, and he got interested in Malört, and so he purchased the recipe from Carl Jeppson and started making it here in Chicago.
Right.
And then and he had the company for a long time. He actually sold off the rest of the liquor business just to focus on Malört.
Whoa.
George loved marketing it. He came up with
Right.
all kinds of fun ways to do it, and he grew the brand. He was a lawyer as well, kind of a man about town, and he hired Patricia as his secretary in 1966. She knew nothing about this liquor business, but it ended up being like his real passion. And then when he passed away in 1988, he left the company in his will to Pat.
Oh, so she felt like the need to keep going.
Yeah, and by then, the production of it had moved to Chicago because the last distillery in Chicago had shut down in the early 80s.
Oh, so it moved to Florida.
Yeah, so the production, the company has always been headquartered here, and up to that point, 100% of the sales were here in the Chicago area. But it had drifted off to Florida, and that's when I came in, and I was like, hey, let's just bring it back here. And eventually, after turning me down after 5 years, I kind of gave up. And then a few months later, Sam called me and said she wants to retire. She's about 75.
Right.
In essence, what he said is she wants to sell the company to you.
Wow.
Yeah, because you seem like a nice young man.
Right. Awesome.
Yeah. We have a significant distillery here, and enough sort of horsepower to be able to make enough Malört. So I think she was happy for it to come home, where it should be made.
It's kind of a sweet story. I like that. It's a good story.
There's actually a real sense of responsibility. Especially when we first bought the brand, it was very much like it's not really ours.
Right.
And we're just sort of the caretakers, if you will. Now, a few years later, we feel like we really are part of it, but it's still, Malört is really owned by the people who love it, the fans.
Right.
The total crazies who will do anything for Malört and do anything with Malört, and we just love those people. Chicago is a city that people love, even if they're not from here or maybe even haven't visited. It's a brand in some ways. Malört is sort of part of that. When we took over the company, it was only in a couple of states.
Right.
But 98% of the volume was here, and it's still the great and vast majority is in the city of Chicago and then in the close-in area. But because there are Chicagoans who have moved all over the country, we get all of this like, hey, can you bring Malört here? So we're now up to about 20 states. So we are very much on the mission to make everybody else in the country suffer along with us.
Right, yeah, everyone should suffer together. I completely agree. Suffer in the best way.
Yes.
We've known each other for so long.